Hey guys, in today's video I want to talk about internal pressures. I just did a post about it and it's been on my mind, so I want to talk about it here. I feel like this was the biggest thing for me in my healing was to recognize the survival states I was going into, the pressure I was putting on myself, and to change those behavior patterns. I thought they were personality traits, but it turns out they're survival states that I was going into, and changing them, understanding them first, and just having compassion for my nervous system and that, it makes sense that I go into these states, and then being able to reframe and change them has made the biggest difference in my healing. I was in constant stress, always feeling like a tiger was chasing me, but most of the stress was actually from my own thoughts, my expectations of myself. So these are examples of internal pressures that Dr. Schubiner talks about in his training and in Unlearn Your Pain. So being overly self-critical, I was so there. I would be more critical of myself than anyone else, right? Anyone else could do something, I'm like, oh, not a big deal. But if I did it, I'd be like, well, that wasn't good enough, right? Overly self-critical. I couldn't even take a compliment. It was hard for me to take a compliment because I was like, yeah, but that's not really true. Self-blaming. So, oh, that was my fault that I made him mad. That's the fawn response. Self-blaming, I didn't do a good enough job. That could be freeze and shame. People who feel more of a sense of obligation or duty. So I know for me, in the religious aspect that I was raised, in the community that I was raised, there was a lot of sense of obligation and duty, and you need to do these things for other people, and that could very easily be interpreted by someone in a survival state as giving at your own expense and part of the fawn response. Worry excessively. So that is part of the flight response, is to always be on high guard, looking for danger, to just create scenarios where you create problems in your mind and solve them. And again, all of these things are survival responses that make sense. There's some element of protection that our nervous system is trying to get, trying to achieve this safety, but worrying excessively actually puts your body into these survival states. So there's no net positive of worry. Because most of the time the things we worry about don't even happen, or if they do, we handle them better than we think we're going to. So people who take responsibility for external problems. Sorry, this is so wobbly, I'm changing hands. I see this a lot, where a lot of the people that I work with who have chronic pain or disease are so sweet and so considerate and overly thoughtful of other people, to the extent of they can't really be happy in their own lives when they see that there's suffering in the world, or that there are, problems in the world. So really starting to detach from, this is the way I think of it. If you're worried about the suffering people in the world, you suffering about it is just going to add to more suffering. The more you can get regulated, calm your own nervous system, get aligned, then you're more able to help those people that you're concerned about. But one of these ways that we stay in a survival state is to never really let ourselves feel happy because there's this suffering in the world, and focusing on that and paying attention to that rather than holding space for there is that, and I can also feel safe and suffer less in my daily life as well. People who are overly conscientious and caring about others, especially to the exclusion of doing things for themselves. So Howard Schubiner calls this, all of these conglomeration of symptoms, the perfect people pleaser, the PPP. And I definitely resonated with being a PPP, perfect people pleaser, perfectionist, wanted to do things well, wanted to be liked, wanted to feel safe by people liking me and everyone liking me. And that's that fawn response. That all of these are survival responses based from fear. And what we want to start to see is that we can start to feel more safe in our life. We don't have to people please for everyone to like us, because that's impossible anyway. You could do things perfectly for one person and someone else might be mad about that. So if you're noticing some of these traits, coaching is so helpful to unravel and to notice and to be, brought attention to, or to bring attention to these survival responses you're going into, how they're affecting your body, how they're affecting your life, how you're showing up in this chronic stress state, and to build new patterns. And sometimes it's not exactly easy. It sounds kind of nice to just be like, well, I just relax more. But if you're high strung, if you're in high guard, your nervous system doesn't want you to relax. It might not feel safe to have a boundary if you're not used to having boundaries with people. So it's really good to, identify these survival states, these personality traits that lead to more nervous system dysregulation and chronic pain and disease, and to look for ways to calm your nervous system when you have them, to reframe what's going on, to take less responsibility for other people, to care more about your own emotions and how you feel and what actually makes you feel good, so that you can be in that parasympathetic calm state, so that you can actually show up and help people and show up in a way that you can give to others, because your own cup is filled first. And that is the way to do it without depleting yourself, without causing chronic pain and more symptoms with the body, whether it's pain or other symptoms. It could be heart racing, and it could be numbness or tingling. Like, all of these things can be symptoms of the body in these survival states. And so we want to just look at the whole picture of how we're responding to pain in pain reprocessing therapy, but also all of these internal pressures that we're putting on ourselves that we can change and live a healthier, easier, more pain-free, and more like a state of well-being, having more of a state of well-being in our lives. All right, guys, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.